And we are ready to go when you are, Mr. Chairman.
Are you talking to me or Chairman O'Brien?
Yeah, like I'm speaking with you both. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Chairman Little.
Yes, sir.
I will call the roll call, the commissioners, and you call your roll call, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Collins,
Present.
Commissioner Shea,
Present.
and Commissioner O'Brien is present.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mike McFarland,
Present.
Liz Smith, Matt Sheehan, and myself. Okay.
And it should be,
Uh,
it should be
I
noted,
I don't have a, well, yeah, I do have a quorum.
yeah, it should be noted that the county commissioners are also trustees, so you do have a quorum.
Yeah, okay. And, okay, I do have a quorum, sir.
Okay, you can pick up from there, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll call the joint meeting of the county commissioners and the Norfolk County Board of Trustees to order, and I will please ask everybody to stand and pledge the allegiance for me. Okay, thank you. Pledge allegiance
To the flag.
To the flag of
The United States of America,
and to the republic
the republic for which it stands,
One
one
nation.
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
Indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you, everybody. I'll entertain a motion for the minutes of the December 9th joint meeting with the Board of Trustees and the County Commissioners. Do I hear?
I'll make a motion that they are to pass as presented, and whoever wrote them, they did a wonderful job.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Chairman O'Brien,
yes.
Peter Collins,
Yes.
Joe Shea,
Yes.
Mike McFarland,
Yes,
Liz Smith isn't here, Matt Sheehan isn't here, and myself is a yes.
And Eddie, those are the open session minutes, right?
Those are the open session.
Okay, thank you.
Then the next item on the agenda is the executive session meetings for December 9th.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we accept the executive session minutes for the, again, executive session to December 9th for approval, and that we do not release the minutes at this time until this matter is adjudicated.
Okay. Is a motion made on the floor? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Chairman O'Brien,
Yes.
Peter Collins,
Yes.
Joe Shea,
Yes.
Mike McFarland,
yes.
Liz, and myself is a yes. Okay, very good. Okay, the next thing on the agenda, we're going to discuss the solar project, but before we do go into that, I do know that we had correspondence from one of our board of trustees meeting, Matt Sheehan, and I made sure that everybody got a copy of it. Did all the trustees read it and get a copy of it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, nobody didn't get a copy, okay. I will, I'll put it into record that we've all had a copy of it, but I won't have it read, okay? The next thing on the agenda is the solar project update. And before we start, this meeting that we're having is an informal meeting, is a meeting to provide an update for the commissioners, the trustees, and the public on the status of the proposed solar projects. It's to present changes for the commissioners and trustees to consider as a result of public feedback where we've been receiving on this project. As chairman of the Board of Trustees, I expect there'll be no votes taken, as the hope is to present information, changes from Kearsarge and from us all to be considered. We have been receiving feedback on the products over the last few months. We received a lot of feedback at the Commissioner's public hearing on November 19th. Yagi and the county have indicated all along that we want public feedback to help share the proposal. It has been a process and we expect this to be a progress. The trustees and the commissioners get it. The Yagi has been part of the Walpole community for more than a century now. We have gone back and asked Kearsarge to make changes and to work with us to reflect the feedback we've been receiving from the community. View this as a positive step, a step that shows we're listening, that we are working to include the feedback we've been receiving. It's a step that shows continued good faith on the part of the Board of Trustees and the commissioners. I invite Kearsarge to present the changes in the update proposal. Thank you. Who is going to present, Kearsarge, or who is here?
It would be Andrew Bernstein,
Okay,
Commissioner.
and Andrew, how are you?
Good.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you as well. I'm pleased to be here. Can I share my screen, Mike?
Sure.
Yes,
You can share it if you know how.
yes.
Okay. Hold on one sec. Let's- Whiteboard, iPhone, I don't. I think this is gonna be the.
You got it now.
Yep. So I can put this in presentation mode if that's easier for everyone.
I'm trying to get into the Zoom meeting and I can't find the link on your website. I'm under meetings and agendas. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I just can't find it. I did, yeah. It says there's an agenda here, Commissioner agenda. I don't.
Is somebody helping that young lady out?
No.
I don't have any idea. Is it because I'm attached to the channel? Yes, I'm sorry, Andrew. You should be ready to go.
Okay, so thank you, Chairman Little, for the introduction. So we've heard lots of feedback from teachers, from the Aggie community, commissioners via Mike Mullen and Scott Lopez, neighbors as well. So what we've tried to do is take the multiple feedback and come up with some approach that will meet everyone's needs. I think there's a bit of an echo, but so we also tried to understand, is anyone else hearing echo or is it just I?
No, it's you as well. Like I'm gonna ask everyone who's on if they can mute themselves, please.
Okay, yep. No, we still have an echo, but that's okay. So we'll continue. So we've also tried to see what we can do in light of some of the other constraints with Eversource, construction, timing, the program within the Mass SMART program. So there's multiple issues here. So we're trying to come up with something that hopefully will meet the greatest needs while it may not be perfect, we've tried to listen and do our best to come up with a solution that we think will work for all. So let me focus on the 2 locations of the ground mounts. So we've made progress on some of the roofs and the parking lot canopy to get there. Those projects are small and those projects are truly loss leaders. So the focus has always been on doing this as a complete package. So the Fisher Street original location, we heard a lot of feedback on this project. A fair amount from the students of the Aggie School as well as the teachers, that this area that we had put in when we signed the letter of intent was actually a teaching area, and that the woods were almost sacred to the traditions of the Aggie. And that's perfectly well understood. So we were suggested some general locations from some of the teachers. We tried to work within those 2 different locations, and we ended up on 1 location. So where we stand right now is the new location here. It's approximately, it might be a little bit smaller, but it's about the same size. Let me give some qualifiers here. What we did with everything that we've done today is we tried to minimize, if not eliminate, any tree clearing. That was an important concern, although even if some trees are cleared, the overall green economics, if you will, are much more positive than not doing the solar. But in what we've done today, we've focused on trying to minimize tree cutting. This layout here, we got some feedback the other day from some teachers. And so this can be also changed a bit. But what we tried to do here was move it into an area where we wouldn't be cutting any trees. This is approximate. When we get final panel sizes, it can be a little bit smaller. It can be moved east or west. We try to stay as much as possible away from the borders, so we wouldn't be imposing on any of the neighbors. So this is a great solution here. One of the key issues here was the interconnection point that was already established by Eversource that we cannot change. But so we'll use the same interconnection point. We're gonna, the poles right now are above ground. Our goal is working with Eversource to bury the lines. That's a more expensive approach, but one of the things we heard that was important too. One of the issues that many people had talked about was that there really is a dump here that's got granite, all sorts of different refuge, mostly organic. And one of the asks was that Kearsarge would do its best to clean that up. So we put that on. Originally, we thought we could pull the array closer down here, but then that would cause us to cut more trees. So we pushed it up there. This was approximately a 10-acre site. It will allow it to be hayed around the site. Kearsarge is working to figure out what the costs are of losing the hay and trying to provide the hay to the Aggie. So it would be net neutral from that perspective in terms of costs. We could also offer, if the Aggie wanted to come in and send some sheep in and oversee that, which we do on other sites, to manage the vegetation within the array, we would pay them the exact same thing we pay other farmers who do this for us, as opposed to having guys come in with weed whackers and cut around that. It's a more expensive approach, but we like to do that as well. It's a better thing to do. As I said, it's about 6.5 acres. There's 0 acres of clearing versus 7 acres before. We don't have a final wetlands. We base this on the Mass GIS, but we think we're pretty confident here, having walked the site, that there won't be any major issues. It may be shifted. As I said, we're going to clean up the tree in the compost area. One of the other suggestions we heard from students and teachers at the Aggie School, as well as others, that they'd like us to do pollinator plantings here, which is something we're happy to incorporate rather. We could also look at maybe trying to attract some birds, put a nesting pole. So that's something else we can add there. But There'll be a pathway around the whole array so people can walk around it. We can also are pretty confident that the minimum distance to the boundaries will be about 65 feet on the eastern and northern edge. Once again, I said we could move that a bit. From the green economics, if you will, the school uses approximately 2,081 tons of CO2 per year. The Fisher Array will help offset almost all of this and will help as the campus shoots for carbon neutral. Those numbers actually might be higher, but one of the things we heard from several teachers, as well as the administration, that it's really critical to find a way to make this, the Aggie school rather, I should say, carbon neutral. From just the numbers that I want to share, because I think it's important to understand this, and Walpole Green was emphasizing this as well at the public meeting, is from a carbon sequestration, it's equivalent to keeping and saving 2,366 acres just from the 6.5 acre solar array. Annually, the Fisher Array prevents the equivalent, as said, of about 1,900 tons of CO2 released into the atmosphere. Trying to make that into real number, it's approximately taking 400 passenger vehicles off the road. It would, I can't talk, supply enough power for 300 homes approximately, and the equivalent of consuming 300,000 gallons of gasoline. So that's the overview on the Fisher Street site. The power for this would be provided, it can be provided to the Walpole community for discounted energy. Our other opportunity, which we have go, is for low-income housing. That's the upside. I can't talk today. Is the update on Fisher Street?
Plug that cord in, will you? Plug the cord in.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Scott Lopez there.
I'm sorry, Fran.
Yes, I am,
Is
Commissioner.
Attorney Lopez there?
Yes.
I have a couple of questions to ask Attorney Lopez before we get into the other part. Both boards, they signed a letter of intent before a public hearing was held. Now, the public hearing was held on November 19th, and 64 pages long. It's a lot of testimony, and there was a lot of reading to do, which I had done without question. And now we have a situation here. I'd like to ask you, the next procedure, is that to vote on a contract?
Commissioner, do you really want me to give you a legal opinion in a public hearing?
No, I want, what I want is I want an opinion in a public hearing. You have said many times that we're going to have a contract. So I'm asking, on your recommendation, we signed a letter of intent, and then we held a public hearing after. Now we've had a public hearing in my years of service. Now we decide whether or not we sign a contract. So my question is, both boards get an opportunity to vote for a contract going in the future?
In the future, there will be a vote on one or two contracts. One contract with respect to Fisher Street and one contract with respect to North Street. Those.
So that we will be asked to sign those contracts.
Those contracts are currently still under negotiation.
What does that mean, please?
That means that there's still information that has to be put into the contracts to finalize them before we send them to DOER.
So that we do have an opportunity to vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on with the update then, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Ed. So the hilltop, the preliminary layout on the hilltop, this was the one we had before. We worked pretty hard to move it down and have the visibility we limited from the road. We were required on this original layout that there would be trees that would be cut down, mostly in this area. Got a lot of feedback from residents as well as boards that they want us to minimize the trees that were cut down. On this is the original interconnection. This is, we're putting up screening here, road, did a whole analysis. We brought in engineers, the sight line is flags. Remember, the top of the solar facility, the highest portion is about 8 feet, and you're 500 feet away. This is a downslope. So this was quite a good location. There are 125 feet in the southern property border, so we weren't reaching on neighbors as well. This was about 17.5 acres, and it had around 2 acres of clearing. So what we come up after feedback is we're subtracting all of these acres, and they'll be about the same size of the. I think we're going to make it simpler when we finalize the right hand size, if you will. The siting is designed to minimize tree clearing and avoid trails. I should have said on the Fisher Street we also now are not crossing any of the trails that residents as well as Aggie school community was using for hiking. So this is the same. We're minimizing, avoiding trails. The mature trees, which was one of the comments from many people, including the Board of Commissioners when they walked that, we're avoiding that. We'll have about then half an acre of clearing and brush trimming on these green circles that's just within the array. This is on the downslope as well, so it can't be seen. And this is, some parts of this are quite steep. The transmission is unchanged. The access would follow the existing access way to North Street, buried and pole mounted. Minimum distance to the boundary is approximately 100 feet on the southern side, a little bit more than that, as I said. And from, we'd also add a whole line of screening here. So what's happening here is we're adding in new panels just up in this area here. We'd build in further screening because we would be on a higher portion of the slope, but still preserving a significant amount of the pasture that was preserved in the prior version. So we'd have strong vegetative screening that would be built up around the whole sides to protect the array as well. So it would be virtually, even in the winter, it'd be difficult to see this and be responsible for maintaining the vegetation. The carbon offset and equivalencies, this is pretty impressive. This would be carbon sequestration equivalent to 7,271 acres. Annually, the hilltop prevents the equivalent of 6,000 tons of CO2 released into the atmosphere, which is equivalent to taking 1,200 passenger vehicles off the road. It's enough power to power almost 1,000 homes, and it's the equivalent of consuming 600,000 gallons of gasoline. The power from this, once again, we've lined up low and moderate income housing through several different groups who would get discounted power. The electrons from this, the way it works is would go onto the grid. So we were reducing our needs. We also would have battery storage, and that would allow us to put the power back on the grid at the greatest times, reducing the overall cost of power at some point. And this has been a big push by the Commonwealth to try to reduce the cost of power overall. So from that perspective, this array fits quite nicely with Department of Energy Resources program. The power, as I said, we could do lower moderate income. There's a new movement, if you will, happening in the state, which allows cities and towns to aggregate power. So this power could, discounted power, the credits, the town of Walpole could have discounted power. And that would be the citizens. We offered this to the town of Walpole, but they've already maximized how much credits they could use. A little bit of credits, but not a lot. Once again, the tax benefits to the town of Walpole are unchanged. I don't think we need to go back to that again. So it's significant, probably north of $200,000 a year for overall tax benefits, depending on what the final sizes are. So that's the full update. And I don't know what else, Ed, you want me to discuss, or anyone else.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start. On the Fisher piece of property, you're looking at approximately 6.5 acres in there.
Mhm.
And you're taking that a good portion of that field, a good portion of the whole thing. And to be honest with you, that probably is one of the best fields that we have on school grounds, as far as getting hay cut, using hay and all that. We get approximately 100 bales of brown bales of hay out of there, and that equals to 100 bales of round hay equals to 1,400 bales of the square bales, and that is a big piece of loss to us for our animals. And also, if you end up with that piece of land, and also take up on North Street, move your array out further out of the woods, you're taking more land, more fields there. And to be honest with you, Andrew, you're really killing us as far as the hay productivity. And it'll cost us money for the animals, to feed the animals. I figure myself, and I'm not a mathematician, I feel we'll lose approximately between $16,000 and $20,000 just on the Fisher side alone if we lose that in cost of hay.
Yep.
So
Go ahead. Yeah, so we've gotten some estimates, and we have to get the exact estimate because this is 6.5 acres out of 10. The question is what else can be hayed around this? But as I said, on this site, because it's so close, and our understanding was this was the major site that was used for haying, that we'll have to make up the net difference. There's gross costs and net costs, of course, after you took with gasoline and tractors and all sorts of things like that. But we're happy to move this site and put it tighter here with some trimming of trees, maybe an acre. And because we've got this unsightly dump here, so we could move the array down here, but it would cause some trees to be cut here. If we did do that, you'd have 50% or more. Right now, you've got approximately 3.5 acres, so you're about 35%, which will be preserved. So we can alter this array and get it down so we could preserve 40% with the current location. If we move it down here, we probably could preserve closer to 50 to 55%. So those are some of the trade-offs, and as well as Kearsarge will look and we'll work together to try to provide other sources of hay and pick those costs up, because we realize that's an important concern. So we're willing to pick up those costs, but quite honestly, one of the concerns is just in terms of the trees here, and minimizing with the carbon offset. We think it's a better location to move this array down. Maybe if you can see my cursor.
Okay. Yep.
Down to this area right here. with some tree cutting. And we think it's a better layout overall, but it would involve, as I said, about 1.5 acres of tree cutting, because of course, the most important part of our array is the southern, because you want the panels to face south. So
I see.
those are the trade-offs with this new one here, and we're
Okay.
pleased to do that. It would also, with the dump that we're cleaning up here, you are getting another new area that you could potentially hay, and that adds some. It's not going to add a lot, but you are going to lose, let's call it 55% of the land you were haying in the past.
Okay, I'm gonna lose 55, I'm gonna lose percentage there. What about North Street? How much am I gonna lose up in North Street?
We're not aware of the exact numbers that were hayed, because with this location here, the only area you're gonna potentially lose, and we'd have to get a better understanding of what's being hayed, would probably be this area here. When we walked it originally with you and Mike Mullen and I quite a while ago,
Right,
this
yep.
is all on a downslope, and it's pretty hard to use this at all from our understanding because of the steepness here. So
Okay, how much are you coming from the backside, where your cursor is now, out to the trees that you're planting? How far out are you coming?
this is the only, if you will, this is the new area that, oops, all right. This is the new area that we've added. Right through here and some of this area here. But we originally were putting screening in here. So I can get you an exact amount here. I imagine that's probably going to be about 1.5 acres up here that we added here by moving the whole array from this side to protect the mature trees.
I see. You know, you and I, the day that we went up there, you and I talked about moving it back.
Right, which we did that.
We agreed on. But
Right.
now you want to move it forward again. And here again, that's our bread and butter. Hey, you know, that saves us money by growing our own.
Right, and that once again, we'll have to figure that out, and we'll have to be good on that cost. But I think from a constructability, we'd prefer to put it down here, but we got a lot of feedback on these mature trees. So that's why we moved it, because originally when we walked with you, Ed, you had suggested we push it down here.
Yeah, I did, right.
Yep, so we were following that lead. The other thing we can also do is we can, we're paying the county and the ag based on the size, the rent. If we have to, we'll look at making the array smaller. That's another viable approach. So we could cut some of this back and try to come up with a compromise here. So those are all on the table right now. We think this is a good, strong layout, but if there's areas that, such as this area that's critical, we're certainly willing to make the numbers work in terms of haying and figure out what this is. Be very fair about that. So that's something we could take out. And that might not be a bad approach, just because you're still maintaining, you wouldn't necessarily need some of this screening as well to get it up here. So that's a very viable approach. But as well as trying to say, we'll take down some trees, but the number one concern that we were tasked with on these two layouts was to make sure that we don't take down any trees, and that's where we stand right now.
I agree, and you got to face reality. There's going to be some trees coming down. There's no question. There's gonna, you can't please everybody. So reality is that there's going to be some people are going to be unhappy. But my biggest concern, Andrew, is it isn't keeping the people happy. It's to keep the Aggie School alive and well. And, you know, a bale of hay to me is, I'm paying, me personally, I'm paying $12 a bale, between $11 and $12 a bale. And the Aggie School is buying a hell of a lot more hay than I am. So I'm concerned with the cost of the situation. That's why I'm so wrapped up with the hay situation.
I think that's fine, Ed, and I think that there's some feedback from the commissioners as well, so that if one of the outcomes is from this is, look, leave this here, which is not the best area for haying, but we want to preserve this area, then we'll cut this back and we'll look to see if we can add moderately on these areas as well. But that's fine. It will reduce the size of the array, but we want to do something that's going to work as much as possible for everyone. So we're not saying it has to be this size. It's just, it's tied to the economics.
I agree with you, Andrew, and I want you to come out as whole as we come out, you know, but I certainly know I can work with you on the North Street property.
Yeah, so
I know-
North Street, we go out there, and I think the best thing to do is,
Well, you want to go over now?
we would put stakes out.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm.
Sorry.
Okay.
We could stake it. We could stake it in, and we could work on this area right here. We could minimize this area here.
Yeah, okay. On the, I'll be honest with you, on the Fisher Street property, I'm not so sure you and I are gonna come to an agreement, but we can definitely talk on it.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in here?
I'd like to say something, please.
Well, can we, are we gonna go in the order of commissioners or
You
how are we
know,
doing this, Ed?
I didn't want to take any, I really don't want to talk to, I don't want the public, this is a meeting between the commissioners and the trustees.
Right.
You know, if we open it up to the public, it's going to get into a Donnybrook, and I don't want to be there sitting here like we did on the 19th of November till 6 o'clock at night listening to. Everybody has the same idea, you know. Nobody wants it in their backyard. None of us want it, but we have to face reality too.
All right, Ed, I've got some questions for the developer. I've never had a chance to speak to him. Here's my opportunity before I take office. May I be allowed to speak?
Is that Dick Stady?
Yes, it is. It is indeed.
Okay, go ahead, Dick.
All right, thank you. So first, thank you, Andrew, for your presentation. It's an excellent presentation. It shows improvement, but I think I agree with Ed. There's still room to go. I want you to know that I have worked as an attorney on a couple of solar projects, and so I'm familiar with you know, what you have to do in terms of how you have to do to make your profit and to make it work for everybody. And I commend you for trying to do that. I think the North Street site shows progress, but I think you need to make some changes and cut that back. And I think you're leaning that way. I've got questions though. First of all, in terms of how this project started, obviously you've done some work with the roofs and you've also something work with the carports. Was there any examination and is there any plan or is it possible, loaded question, to also put any more panels on the site of the Aggie School? I know that in working with developers, I have had heard that sometimes roofs don't support it, but that's not an acceptable answer to me. Have you examined that before we start looking at the ground as an alternative? Is there any chance we could use more rooftops on the Aggie School site to develop this and, you know, promote solar energy? And by the way, when I ran for office, I'm a proponent for solar. I ran for that. I'm straight as I can say. I'm a proponent for solar energy, decrease our carbon footprint, and find no source of revenue. But I'm not one that wants to take down trees that don't need to be taken down. And I do want to see if we've used all the options we have available. So that's my first question. The second thing would be perhaps if we're not able to make you whole, and what you know, it's possible with changes to your plan, perhaps we could look at other options at a later date on other county property, and would you be interested in doing that as well? So I have a twofold question. My first was, did you look at other sites on the county, on the Aggie School for possible solar development? And number two, are you open to looking at other options if we need to on the county to make your contract work? That's my question. Thank you.
Sure. No, thank you. Very fair questions and please fire away. But we started this process and we worked with the county and the Aggie, and the locations where we originally put it on Fisher Street was suggested by we came back and forth. So we looked at all different areas, looking at wetlands, other issues. There's a significant amount of wetlands. If I go up here, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of wetlands and other issues. So we looked at many different sites. We looked at roofs. We reduced some of the roofs based on Aggie feedback and tried to not make it look, there are some aesthetics, I should say. We also had a lot of problems, Dick, with roofs that are in terrible shape that need to be repaired. So we have 2 or 3 more roofs that we are looking at putting solar on, but they need new roofs first. And so we reduced it. So the roofs we have very small roofs right now, just because of the location, as you know, facing south, the life of the roofs. There's a whole bunch of different issues. One issue that Commissioner Little, or excuse me, Chairman Little, not Commissioner, maybe he's going to head for the county board,
Yeah.
who knows? But
I'm gonna head out of here.
Yeah.
brought up that we're actually quite excited about is something that we think we can make the numbers work as part of our commitment and no BS involved, is that the former animal barn, we think we could put, working under the Massachusetts program, we're working with DOER to put up basically a canopy and basically rebuild the barn for the Aggie school. And I have to give full credit to Ed. This was his idea to try to put this together. So we've gone ahead, we've spent the money from an engineering perspective, and we've applied to Eversource to see if this is feasible from an interconnection side. And I think it'll work. It'll be a more expensive interconnection, but we think it'll work. So we could put something up there that would have solar on top. And obviously canopies aren't as beneficial as ground mounts for many reasons, as you know, I'm sure,
Right.
in terms of angles and things like that. But that's the other thing we've looked at. So we looked at overall the whole land and tried that the Aggie owns, working with the commissioners as part of the whole RFI approach, and tried to look at what the numbers were. And then what we did is we had land appraised following, as Scott Lopez can tell you, following the Massachusetts general law and trying to understand what the value is. So we worked out some of the numbers there and increased in terms of what the offering would be to the Aggie school. Since then, because we're in the SMART program, the economics have gone down just because you go through different tiers, as you probably know as well, and what are called different blocks. So that's, we haven't changed the numbers because we committed to those. In terms of your second question, this would be one that I put back to Mike Mullen. I mean, we would love to do other, but we really couldn't find any other sites. We would love to try to put solar on the prison that's managed in 128. I guess that's Dedham and area, but that's controlled by the state. That's not the county. So these were the best options we had.
Okay. All right. So I don't want to dominate the whole discussion. I don't want to take too much time. Thank you, first of all, for your response. I think that, in a few weeks, I'll be sitting in a different position, and perhaps we can look at some other options I have in mind that might be more favorable for you to discuss. And that's probably not appropriate then. As far as what you're saying, though, again, here we have, Chairman Little saying he's got a concern about the loss of field for hay. That's a serious concern. And on the other hand, you're willing, I think you initially said, you're willing to make it up by some kind of a monetary contribution to offset the loss of hay. I heard you correctly, I think, on that, right?
Yep.
So what I'm saying too is, and I've worked with solar developers, I've worked with them in the private sector where the roofs were terrible, but they said, it's still worth it for us. We'll help you fix the roof and put panels on there, and we'll still be able to make an improvement and get our contract satisfied. So without being disrespectful, I'd like to see some numbers. I'd like to ask you and urge you to take a second look at some of those buildings that might not be appropriate, perhaps. I know the ground is easier. I understand that, but we have a very sensitive area. We have an area that's drawn a lot of concern, rightly so. And it might be worth taking a second look at some of those roofs that you wrote off, Andrew, and come back with a cost breakdown. If it's not feasible, then fine. I'll be the first one to say it. But I'd like to see that examined. Every alternative we can look at carefully. Just as Chairman Little is saying to you, perhaps, can you look at different options on the field to save pasture land, in terms of the hay? So, I think there's an improvement there. I don't think this is a final phase. By all means, I think it's an ongoing process. And certainly we're going to have to look at some other options. But I think you made some progress here. And I thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I'd be pleased to, even if you want, before you sit down, take you through the analysis we've done on the roofs, because we're pretty confident, especially where the program is, they don't work, and they don't work because the county's got to fix the roofs first. But I'd be happy to take you through that whole analysis. We spent a lot of time on that because that was what Chairman Little had tasked us with at first.
Oh yeah, one more thing, real quick. You said on an alternate Fisher Street site, you said there'd be some kind of a path, I believe you said, to for people could walk around it or something like that. But aren't you required to put some kind of an access road that would at least service emergency vehicles in case of an accident? So wouldn't there actually be a road around it of some sort? Doesn't have to be a road, but some kind of an access path so that they can be serviced in an emergency?
It will be.
No, we'd have the access through the middle and then through the array, but they'd be able to get outside. We could put another gate here, but you can have access throughout the outside. We don't
probably, you probably would be, I'm jumping the gun, but for site plan approval, you'd probably be asked to do that by the town, but all right, that's fine.
No, I don't think that we've done that. We don't see that as a problem.
Okay, just want to take that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Has anybody else got any questions from the board, the county commissioners or the board of trustees?
I have one question, Mr. Chairman, my last question.
Go ahead,
my last meeting, I'd like to ask Dr. Quinn the question. I know that she was okay with the carport and the roof, and that didn't bother her. My question is, as superintendent of the Aggie School, what is your feeling in regards to the solar panels and the mounts going on campus grounds?
Hi, this is Tammy Quinn. I hear what everyone is saying today, and I'm in favor of solar also. I understand the need for solar. I am unhappy that it has caused such a turmoil in the county with the teachers, with the alumni, with our neighbors. And I'm hoping that we can find a better solution than where we're at right now. And I'm excited to hear that we are looking at other alternatives. I do think that the second, what Andrew has proposed today is a better choice than taking the trees down. But I know that now we have to look at other sides, which is the farmland piece, the grazing and the hay. So I'm happy to hear that everybody is still looking to make a better choice. Again, I am in favor of solar. I do think there's a huge educational piece to it. And I think that we should be working to help our environment and teaching that to our students, but I don't like the way it has gone. And there has been so much discussion about it, and a lot of untruths have been said. And that's not how we want this to be. We want it to be a positive experience. So I'm happy to hear that Mr. Stady and other people are looking at other alternatives.
Thank you very much, Doctor. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anybody else? Andrew, can you put us back on screen?
I should. I am screen sharing.
No, yeah, but can you cancel that?
Oh, sure.
Good. I like to look at the people I'm talking to. if nobody else has got any remarks or questions from the county commissioners or the board of trustees, I'd just like to make a personal note. You know, myself, me personally, I think the world of the Norfolk Aggie School. I spend a lot of time there. I like and love everybody that works there. And I want everybody to know that I've considered the Aggie School in Norfolk County Commissioner's Office, the whole Norfolk County, is family as far as I'm concerned. And everything I do for the I do for the interest, I hope for the interest of the Aggie School. And I know I don't agree with a lot of things, but I'm doing it out of the goodness of my heart for the school. And I really mean that. And I might disagree with some people, but I really sincerely mean the Aggie is number one to me. And if anybody has any questions that they would like to send to the county commissioners on a follow-up on this, or to myself, you can send it to an email to me, care of the Norfolk Aggie School, or to the county commissioner's office. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I just wanted to make a request that you read Matt's letter because he wanted it read. It would be nice like to be able to hear that.
You know, the board of trustees and the commissioners all read it. And I think the letter, I really feel that we read it. Why go any further on it?
Excuse me,
Mr. Chairman?
Little,
Yes.
as a parent of a student,
I'm sorry.
as a parent at the school and someone who has been concerned about the complaints of lack of transparency, I think it would go really far if you would read the letter that was requested to be read aloud. I think it might set a lot of minds at ease where he did request he read it. Thank you. And pardon me for interrupting.
Dr. Quinn, would you please read that letter?
Sure. Dear Norfolk County Commissioners and fellow trustees, I'm disappointed I am unable to attend the meeting today. Especially, by the way, this is written by Matt Sheehan, who is a Board of Trustee member. These are not my words, these are Matt's words. Especially since this has been a very contentious project. I do wish to go on record to state my adamant opposition to this project going forward. Phase 2 of the project on Fisher Street and Norfolk County Agricultural High School main campus. My vote would be no to ground mounts. Phase 3 of the project on North Street at the Hilltop location. My vote would be no to ground mounts. Below are a few reasons why. It is completely contradictory to use this land for a solar farm when there are many other places in the county to put these panels. This project was originally for the students in the environmental program at the Norfolk County Agricultural High School. At no time did I subscribe to the destruction of a local ecosystem to bail out the county government. Myself and others have offered many other solutions and possibilities. It is obvious to me that my concerns and opinions were ignored based on our last meeting. I also feel the town hearing provided a clear message of how your constituents feel. After hearing the lawyer talk in the last meeting, it is unclear to me who exactly he's representing. I'm truly disappointed that we haven't made any changes to the project as proposed. We're living in a time where many people feel county government is irrelevant. You are elected by your constituents. You have 10,000 folks supporting the Walpole Preservation Alliance. You have 2,000 alumni and supporters of the school against the project. Going forward as proposed and is in direct contradiction to the citizens you've sworn to represent. This is no different than passing a national stimulus bill and attaching money for a bunch of other non-pandemic related things to it. In closing, I just want to say I've enjoyed my time working with all of you on the board. I look forward to once again having cordial discussions about business that affects my high school. I'm the only alumnus on the board and one of the only people who hasn't received any monetary gain salary from the county or the school. You should want to preserve it as much as I do. If this project goes ahead as proposed, I will do everything I can to stop it. I've made inquiries with a lot of national environmental organizations. I'll be following up with them after the results of this vote. If anything, I can at least show the nation how not to fix your budget at the expense of the environment. I suggest we have a meeting with Representative McMurtry and Senator Feeney to discuss other options. This doesn't have to happen. Why didn't the county have a town hearing before the letter of intent was signed? This land will be changed for 50 years. That will make me 85 when it returns to the way it is now. I ask that you all try to look past your own self-interest going forward. Now is your chance to show your constituents that the county government works for them. How do you want to be remembered by the people who serve in this county? Respectfully, Matthew Sheehan. I want to say he wrote this letter before he realized that there were different proposals on the table. So I got this, a couple of days ago before he realized there were other proposals. So I'm just stating that as an aside.
Okay,
We
I
really
will-
appreciate it.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Mr.
moved.
Motion
Chairman?
made.
Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, Dr.
Can
Quinn.
can I just have a few minutes to thank Chairman O'Brien for all that he has done for the school since this is his last Board of Trustee meeting?
Yes, please do.
Chairman O'Brien has been with us for a long time, and he has worked really hard to help us through many, many, many situations. And we are very sad to see him leave. This is his last Board of Trustee meeting. We've missed him. The past few meetings, he always had the school's interest at heart, always thought of our school as number one, always made us feel special, always called us the jewel of Norfolk County. And we just want to thank him for all that he has done and all the time and effort he has given to us. And we're going to miss him terribly. Thank you. Thank you for giving us this time.
And also, I'd like to make,
Thank you very much, Dr. Quinn, and members of the board. I appreciate it very much, and I wish Commissioner Stady and the other commissioners good luck in the future. Thank you.
as chairman of the board, I also want to say thank you for being my mentor to the county Aggie school. And for other reasons, and also for being a brother Jake. And
That's
for,
exactly right, Ed. Thank you, Ed.
and for people that don't know what a Jake is, it's a firefighter. Okay, thank you. A motion made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made second. All in favor? Oh, I got to take a roll call vote, right? Francis O'Brien.
Yes.
Peter Collins.
Yes.
Joe Shea.
Yes.
Mike McFarland. Mike, wake up.
Yes.
Okay. And myself is a yes. Motion made second. The vote is to end the meeting, adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and I appreciate, and everybody have a healthy new year. It can't
Thank
be.
you.
Thank you very much, Ed.
Stay safe.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Best of luck, Franny.